Willow, do you like heart openers? Or do you just like belly rubs? Namaste, I'm Caren, and this is my little dog Willow, and today I'll share with you 3 yoga poses to open your chest and open your heart. The heart is a very tender and vulnerable space energetically in ourselves, and so rather than force it to open all at once, these poses will be more supported and passive. After you finish this practice, you'll feel the opening because of your patience, and that's a beautiful thing, because it means that in our own time, we can rediscover and open our tender selves without feeling like we need to go all in all at once. Grab 2 yoga blocks for this practice, and let's begin in tabletop. As you arrive in tabletop position, plant your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Spread your fingers so wide apart from one another, and let your wrist creases be parallel to the front edge of your mat. And then pad into your fingertips, your knuckles, and feel a little lift of the palms as you claw into the ground. Let the lower belly be super passive and allow on an inhale your spine to start to drop toward the ground. So take the breath in, descend the back of the heart, the middle of the back, and the low back to the ground, ending up in cow pose. The gaze can come forward, the chin lifted away from the chest, and if it doesn't feel good to crane and look forward through the neck, then go ahead and take the chin slightly in toward the chest. As you claw into the mat and breathe deep into your belly and your lungs, energetically press your hands backward to squeeze gently into your armpits. Find the upper back descending faster than the belly. So if you notice that there's a significant curve going on in your low back, but not much movement into your upper back, can you lift your navel up slightly and then again descend, drawing the shoulders upward toward the ceiling as you melt the heart down toward the ground. Let's take a few more breaths in and out here. Big, spacious breath. We'll transition on the exhale, so breathe in. And now exhale, counter pose into cat. Arch through the spine, press the navel up, spread the scapula across your back, and gaze inward toward your knees. One more breath in to transition out. And as you breathe out, melt your spine back to neutral. Move your hands forward to drop to your forearms into our second pose, Sphinx. Walk your knees back and lower your belly and your pelvis toward the floor. Now, a couple things right away. If you notice that once you stack your elbows underneath your shoulders and you lift your chest, that any pain happens in your low back, you'll want to move your elbows more forward and widen your feet out to the edges of the mat. Also, lift your navel in and slide your tailbone toward your heels, and this will keep your low back safe as you open through your heart. If you don't have any problem in your low back, then you can stack your elbows underneath your shoulders, narrow your stance with your legs. In any case, whether your elbows are close in or farther away, reach into the pinky toe mounds of your feet just as much as you draw down into the big toes. And feel a little bit of energy arrive in the legs, and then energetically press into your palms and drag your elbows backward toward your pelvis. The heart will feel as if it's moving more significantly in front of you. Spend a few moments getting acquainted with your breath. Let it occupy not only the front of the heart, but the sides and the back. Put in a little bit less effort into the physical body and a little more effort into that invisible source of breath within you. Now take one more round. To transition, exhale, stack your hands, send your elbows wide to the edges of the mat and lower your chest, forehead to the back of the hand. Completely relax your low back and your upper back in reverse Shavasana. To transition, lift your head and slide your hands by your shoulders. Energize your belly, plant into your knees, and lift up. If you'd like to lengthen through your low back more, a brief child's pose. Knees wide, toes to touch. Reach the arms forward and lengthen through the spine. Now inhale, and let's lift back up to tabletop so that we can go to the final pose in this series, which is fish pose. Reach for your blocks and take them behind you. The first block will be at a higher height and come long ways across the mat. The second block will be behind that at a lower height. I like the block across my scapula, but you might find that this higher block, you might like it along the spine. So just play around and see what works best for you once you come into the pose. So we'll come into a supported fish pose to further promote the expansion of the chest. You can do this with the legs straight or the knees bent to accommodate your low back. Now come to have a seat close toward that first block behind you, and bend your knees so that your feet plant and you're supported as you arrive on the blocks. And use your hands to gently lower so that the bottom tips of your shoulder blades, if the block is widthwise, come to hold the bottom tip of the block. And then you will curl the rest of the way and reach your head back, sending the block underneath the head for support. Then reach the arms by your sides, nice and wide, so that the shoulders feel loose and the front of your heart starts to expand outward. Now the option is to send the legs long or keep the knees bent again, if you prefer that for your low back. If you are doing the variation with the block along the length of your spine, ensure that you feel centered, not leaning over to the right or the left. If you find that the head feels heavy on the block or the chin doesn't feel comfortable to be craned at such height, then take some blankets and place them underneath your head on top of the block so that you can support your head. Once you find a solid place to rest, close your eyes. And notice if you are holding or gripping into your arms and your shoulders, just loosen now. Loosen into your legs. Let the whole body become absorbed with the sensation of the back bend. We'll stay here for a minute together. Focus lightly in on the heart and your breath, noticing the rise and fall of this place as you breathe. Take one more breath here, sensing into the depth of the heart. And we'll begin to transition out slowly. Open your eyes if you have intuitively closed them. And bend your knees. Plant the feet to the ground. Slowly roll off of the blocks to a side. And land on the ground on your side. Then reach behind you and set the blocks away so that you can come onto your back. Lie in Shavasana for a brief moment, feeling the back of the heart on the ground. Notice how it still feels like there might be a lift of the heart toward the ceiling, an energetic unfolding. Now, one more time, gather the knees inward to press your low back against the ground. Elongate through the entire spine and come up to a seat however you choose, maybe rolling or sending the knees to one side and coming up to a seat. And then as you arrive in this seat, rest your hands on top of the knees and perhaps close the eyes or gaze down toward the ground. And bring your full awareness into the chest. Roll the shoulders down behind you. Soften your navel inward with each exhale. And compare the feeling now to the feeling when you started. Recognize any feeling of opening here, of spaciousness, even if it's subtle. So thank your body for opening in its own time, and yourself for making the commitment to seeking that opening, that awakening of your heart. Plant your hands together at heart center into Anjali Mudra, that we may learn to live more in our hearts and less in our heads. I honor your light. Namaste. It truly doesn't take much to start to open ourselves back up through our heart space. It just takes practice. So if you enjoyed this one, consider giving the video a like and subscribe to my channel for more yoga and meditation videos. I'll see you next time.